Right, children. We are going to discuss about sea waves as the next source of energy. Right. We will go through this. Sea waves are strong. They can generate a large quantity of energy. This will be a very valuable source of energy in the near future. Now, sea waves have a large amount of energy stored here. Therefore, we can use that energy stored in sea waves to generate electricity. So in that case, we have to make floating power plants or power stations. Okay. So this energy can be converted into electrical energy by building floating power plants in the sea. Floating power plants in the sea. Now in Sri Lanka, this still does not take place because the initial cost of installing these type of power plants is very high. But in some other countries, they have these type of power plants. Okay, children? So a flow of air is used to rotate the blades of the turbine. Remember, children, I will simply explain it how that happens. There's a pillar-like structure. So the turbine is present inside this pillar-like structure. And an air layer is trapped here. This is air. So when it is fixed next to these oceanic waves, what happens? When these sea waves move. So when the sea waves move, what happens, children? This air trapped here, because of the movement of the sea waves, this air trapped here vibrates. Because of the vibration of the air, this turbine rotates. Okay, children? So this turbine is connected to a generator. When the turbine rotates, this generator can generate electricity. Understand, children? So that is how we can generate electricity using a flow of air, using the sea waves. Understand? The flow of air is used to rotate the blades of the turbine. Remember, children, now this is the use of sea waves. We can generate electricity. We can use these energy contained in the sea waves as a source of energy. But at the same time, these sea waves can be very disastrous. Let's say, in some instances, the stored energy of the sea waves cause destructions, right? One good example is the occurrence of tsunami in 2004. So how does a tsunami occur, children? Remember, children, a tsunami occurs because of an earthquake takes place in the bottom of the sea. Okay, so let's see how it happens. So as I told you, in the sea bottom, or in the bottom of the sea, sometimes earthquakes take place. So the energy released by these earthquakes is absorbed by this, given to the sea waves. Okay, children, energy released by these earthquakes is given to the sea waves. So sea waves collect all these energies, and when they move towards the coastal area, towards the shore, what happens? As it moves towards the coastal area, it increases the height than the normal height of the sea wave, right? And when it reaches the coastal area, it breaks the entire amount of energy towards the land. Okay, children? So this happens, this starts from the bottom of the sea. So when an earthquake starts in the bottom of the sea, that energy given out by the earthquake, it spreads along the sea waves and it is given to the coastal area, to the land. Okay, so this is a good example for where the sea waves become destructive, right? So in some instances, the stored energy of the sea waves cause destructions. One good example is the occurrence of tsunami in 2004, right? So because of the tsunami, Sri Lanka was also affected. A lot of people died, right? A lot of properties were affected, right, children? So due to this situation, we lost millions worth properties and invaluable lives of humans. It also caused great harm to the nature. Okay, children? So apart from the tsunamis, Sea waves can be used to generate electricity. There are many uses in our day-to-day lives. The main use is we can use the energy contained in the sea waves to generate electricity. Now we have to watch a small video clip related to the tsunamis and also generation of electricity using sea waves. Can you all see these power plants that are powered by the sea waves? These are the floating power plants in the sea, children. So as I explained you, in these power plants, the sea waves energy is used to generate electricity. Can you all see these power plants? They float on water. That's why they are known as floating power plants. So even in Sri Lanka, we don't have these type of power plants. In some other countries, they use sea waves to generate electricity. So in different places of the sea, you can see they have installed it. Right, children? These are the instances of tsunamis. Can you all see how destructive these tsunami waves are? Can you all see the amount of water that flows towards the land is very high? And you can see how the amount of water, how these waves destroy these buildings and other structures in the land. So can you all see? The speed of the wave is also higher. Here you can see these vehicles and buildings, they are floating because of the speed of the water. And at the same time, you all can see here the color of the water has changed. That is because of, along with water, a lot of mud and other dirt particles are coming. So you all can imagine, when you look at these instances, you all can imagine how powerful these sea waves are, these tsunami waves are. Because it contains a large amount of energy, it can carry these buildings and other structures in the land along with it. Okay, children. So you watch what happens when electricity is generated with sea waves. You observe how these power plants are installed in the sea. Okay, they are known as floating power plants. And at the same time, you observed how destructive the tsunami waves are. So I hope you understand this part clear. Right, children. Now we are going to discuss about the energy contained in tidal waves. What is the meaning of tidal waves, children? Let's see. The water level of the sea changes due to the effects of the sun and the moon. Remember, children, you all know that the earth revolves around the sun and the moon revolves around the earth. Now, when you consider the sun, moon and the earth, all three celestial bodies, they have a gravitational force. So because of the gravitational force, so gravity of the sun and the moon, the sea water level changes time to time. These are known as tidal waves. Okay, children? So that is why the water level of the sea changes due to the effects of the sun and the moon. Originally because of the gravitational force acts on the earth because of the sun and the moon, right? It is called as the occurrence of the high tides and low tides. High tides and low tides. So what are the two different types of tidal waves, children? The rise of the sea water level is named as high tide. The rise or increase of the sea water level than the normal levels, right? There's a normal level of sea water. If the sea water level changes because of these gravitational forces, then the normal level, if it is increases, that is known as high tides, right? And the fall of the sea water level is named as low tide, right? So sometimes because of this gravitational force, again the sea water level reduces than the normal levels. This is known as low tide areas. However, these high tides and low tides can be used to generate electricity, right? So when there is high tide, sea water can flow into a tank on the land. So what happens? What is a high tide, children? High tide means increase of the sea water level. When the sea water level increases or rises, what happens? It can flow towards the land. Because of the increased level of water, there has a tendency to flow towards the land area. right? So we can make a tank. Now if this is the land, we can make a tank like this so that during the high tide season, we can let the water flow towards this tank. Now this is the land area, this is the tank. If this is the ocean, during high tides what happens, children? This increased amount of seawater, it flows towards this tank. Understand? So when there is high tide, seawater can flow into a tank on the land. Okay? When there is low tide, water can flow back to the sea. What is the meaning of low tide now? Seawater level drops or reduces than the normal levels. So when the seawater level reduces, automatically water present in this tank will go or flow towards the sea. So in that case, water will flow towards the other side. Okay, children. So these movements inwards and outwards can be used to make a turbine work. Okay, children. So if we install a turbine over here, we can make it work using the flowing water inside and outside. Okay, children. So during both these actions, energy is generated. Flowing water has a certain type of energy. What is the energy? Kinetic energy. We learned that before, right? This tidal energy can be used to rotate the plates of a turbine. Thereby, it is possible to generate continuous supply of electricity. A special type of generators called tidal generators are used in this process. In order to generate electricity using the tidal waves, we can use these special type of generators called tidal generators. Okay? Right. But remember, not every tidal wave can be used to generate electricity, children. Now I told you during tidal waves, certain times the seawater level increases or rises up, then certain time period seawater level reduces. Okay, so in order to generate electricity, it is essential to have a significant difference of heights of the water levels. Right? So in order to generate electricity using tidal waves, there should be a significant difference, a considerable difference between the tidal waves, water levels. Okay, children. So sometimes here it's given in some countries this difference is more than 3 meters. So it is really good to generate electricity. Okay, so if this type of difference is there between the seawater levels, it is very good factor to generate electricity using tidal waves. That's why I said not every type of tidal waves can be used to generate electricity. So even though tidal waves can be seen in many areas, we cannot use those type of tidal waves to generate electricity. So when it comes to tidal waves, what type of energy is this tidal waves? This is also known as a renewable energy source. Renewable energy sources means the type of energy sources that we can obtain again and again. So sea waves, even the tidal waves are coming under renewable energy sources because we can obtain them again and again. We will never run out of these type of waves. Okay, children? But at the same time, we can't use these type of tidal waves every part of the world. That is because, as I mentioned you before, in order to generate electricity using the tidal waves, this significant difference of height of the water levels should be there. Okay? We are going to watch another video clip related to these tidal waves now. Okay, children. Here you all can see how the water level rises due to high tides. Watch carefully. So can you see how the water level, the speed also increases because of the high tides. With high speed, that water flows towards the land. You can see that how the blades of the turbine rotates. Look at the speed of the water, children. Right. So this speed, the high tide and low tides can be used to make a turbine work and thereby we can generate electricity. Look at the water wheel. Right, you can see the blades. Now this is a closer look of the closer view of the blades. Okay, children. So there you saw that how these power plants operated by tidal waves and how it makes that high tides and low tides energy to make the turbines work. Right, children. Now we are going to learn about geothermal energy as the next energy source. What is the meaning of geothermal energy, children? Have you ever heard of this term before? Let's see. The temperature of some regions of inner earth crust is very high. This high temperature can be used to generate electricity. So how can we use high temperature to generate electricity? I will explain this. Okay. So there are some areas of the earth, children. There the temperature is very high. In certain rocks, there is temperature is very high. In the lower areas of the earth crust, these special types of rocks present. These are known as hot rocks. Okay. So these are called hot rocks. Right. So these hot rocks gets heated faster because of the high temperature present below the hot rocks. So hot rocks get heated up really fast. Its temperature is really high. So if we can send pipes through these hot rocks, we can heat water and we can produce steam. So how do we do this? Steam is generated by sending water through pipes to such high temperature regions. So we can build the power plant above the ground. Now this is the surface of the ground. I told you these hot rocks or regions with high temperature present in the inner parts of the earth, right? So if this is the power plant, so from one side we can send pipes to the ground and through the hot rocks, and from the other side we can take it out like this. Okay, children. So these are the pipes. So from this side, from one side, you can send water through these pipes. So as this water goes through these hot rocks, what will happen? Because of the high temperature present in these hot rocks, this water gets heated and water produces steam. Water boils and water produces steam. So as this water goes through the hot rocks, through the pipe, what happens from the other side? Steam comes out. Now because of the high temperature absorbed by this water, this steam is at high temperature and high pressure. Very high pressure and high temperature. So using the high pressure of this steam, we can make turbines work. These turbines are called steam turbines. Steam turbines can be rotated with the help of steam, right? So the steam that comes out from the other side of the hot rock is very high in temperature and also very high pressure is also present. Therefore, using the help of this high pressure, we can make these turbines rotate. So again, as before, turbine is connected to the generator or the dynamo. So when the turbine rotates, it makes the dynamo work and thereby electricity can be generated. Okay, children. So steam is generated by sending water through pipes to such high temperature regions. This steam is subsequently brought to the surface of the earth. From one side, water is sent down. This is water. And when it goes through the hot rock, from the other side, it gets heated up and it boils and it comes out as steam. Now this is steam. Understand, children? So the steam can be used to make the turbines rotate and thereby electricity can be generated. Okay? So this source of energy is used in some countries of the world to generate electricity. Can we use this method in every part of the earth? We cannot. The reason is, as I mentioned you, only in some regions we can find these special areas with very high temperatures. If we can identify these areas, we can construct these type of power plants. Okay, so only in some regions of the earth these type of areas present. Therefore, only those regions can be used to generate electricity. Okay, children, and at the same time we need special type of equipment in order to build these type of power plants, because we have to send the special types of pipes through these hot rocks, right? Initial cost is very high. Therefore, this type of power plants cannot be seen in everywhere. Only in certain countries we can see these type of power plants. Okay, children? So look at this picture. You all can see a power plant functions by geothermal energy. So you all can see these are the, this is the steam that comes out, right? So it's very clear, using geothermal energy we can generate electricity. Right, children. Now we are going to discuss the next subtopic, nuclear energy. So before we discuss this topic, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of the incident called Hiroshima-Nagasaki incident? I'm sure some of you must have heard of this one, Hiroshima-Nagasaki incident. So during the Second World War, the United States attacked two Japanese cities called Hiroshima and Nagasaki. How did they attack? By dropping atomic bombs. Maybe this is a new term for some of y'all. Atomic bombs. Okay, so two Japanese cities called Hiroshima and Nagasaki were attacked because of atomic bombs. Thousands of people died, right? Millions of people were affected even afterwards. They were diagnosed with different diseases like cancers over number of generations. Okay, children, over generations they were affected with different diseases. Okay, children, so why does this happen? Why did this happen, children? The reason behind this was atomic bombs are more powerful than the other bombs, normal bombs, right? So atomic bombs, again known as nuclear weapons. Some of you must have heard the term nuclear weapons. So what is the meaning of atomic bombs? What is the meaning of nuclear weapons? These nuclear weapons generate a large amount of energy due to nuclear reactions. Okay, nuclear reactions. So this energy generated due to nuclear reactions is known as nuclear energy. Understand, children? So have you ever thought, how does the sun generates its energy? Now you know that when you look at the sun, it looks like a ball of fire. But actually a combustion does not take place. It's not burning, right? A combustion does not take place. So how does the sun generate its heat and light energy? So that is done by the energy of the sun is generated due to nuclear reactions. So you can imagine, due to atomic bombs, millions of people died. So you can imagine how destructive it is, how powerful it is. So in the same way, sun generates a large amount of energy because of the nuclear reactions. So what is the meaning of these nuclear reactions, children? Before you learn about the nuclear reactions topic, you have to learn this term called atom. Now I'm sure you remember in the second lesson we learned that the things in the environment can be divided into two parts, matter and energy, right? So this matter, there are three types: solids, liquids and gases. I'm sure you remember this, right? So when it comes to matter, any type of matter is made out of tiny particles called atoms. Okay, for example, iron is made out of iron atoms. Oxygen is made out of oxygen atoms. Likewise. Understand, children? So these atoms behave in a certain way. Some of these atoms in special elements, in special substances, some of these atoms behave in a different way. Because of this different behavior, they can generate a large amount of energy. Okay, children, when you go to the upper grades, you are going to learn about this topic in detail. For now, we will learn certain substances, certain elements have special types of atoms that behave in different ways, right? Behave differently. So then what happens? Because of this different behavior, they can generate nuclear energy. This behavior, these reactions take place between atoms are known as atomic reactions or nuclear reactions. Because of the nuclear reactions take place, a large amount of heat energy and light energy is generated. Understand? So you all know that when it comes to this atomic bombing incident, that is a very sad incident. But when it comes to the large amount of energy created by these nuclear reactions, we can use these nuclear reactions in a good way as well. We can use this large amount of heat released by the nuclear reactions in order to generate electricity, right? Let's go through this. A very high amount of energy is emitted during these reactions. If nuclear reactions are performed under controlled conditions, nuclear energy can be generated. This energy is emitted as heat or thermal energy. Thermal energy means heat energy. Another name for heat energy is thermal energy. Right? Heat is thus generated used to produce steam. Now we can use this large amount of thermal energy to boil water. Right? We can use this thermal energy or heat energy to boil water. Right? So when water is boiled using a large amount of heat energy or thermal energy, steam at high speed and high temperature is produced. Steam at high temperature and high pressure is produced, and this type of heat is called superheated steam. Okay, so this steam at high pressure can be used to rotate turbines, steam turbines. So steam turbine is connected to the generator. When the steam turbine rotates because of this steam at high pressure, then what happens? As it is connected to the generator or the dynamo, it can generate electricity. Understand, children? So the large amount of heat or thermal energy released during these nuclear reactions can be used to heat water and by produce steam. Okay, so this steam produced is at high temperature and high pressure. Because of the high pressure, we can use this steam in order to make a turbine work. As the turbine is connected to the generator, it can generate electricity. Understand, children? However, these reactions should be performed under controlled conditions. What is the reason? So when it comes to this atomic bomb incident, what happens, children? A lot of people got affected because harmful substances released to the environment during this incident. That is why over generations they were diagnosed with different diseases like cancers. Understand? This is why we have to perform these reactions in a controlled conditions. Right? Controlled conditions. So remember, children, there are some elements. I told you that certain elements, certain substances behave in different ways when it comes to these nuclear reactions. Certain atoms present in the different types of elements behave in a different way. So we are going to use those type of elements, those type of substances in order to produce this nuclear energy. So these type of atoms, these type of special substances we can use in order to generate this nuclear energy are known as nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel. One good example for nuclear fuel, widely used nuclear fuel is uranium. Uranium. Okay, children. So it's very clear when it comes to substances, there are different substances behave in different ways, right? All the substances, every matter is made out of tiny particles called atoms. Some atoms behave in a different way. This different type of behavior can be used to generate nuclear energy. So when it comes to this producing nuclear energy, that is done by nuclear reactions. In order to do these nuclear reactions, we use nuclear fuel like uranium. Understand? However, these nuclear reactions should be performed under controlled conditions. Okay, under controlled conditions. So these nuclear fuel, different substances should not release to the environment. What will happen if they get released to the environment, children? All the plants, animals and humans, they will get affected because of the harmful effects of these substances. Okay, children? Right. We will watch another video clip related to this nuclear energy and nuclear power plants. You all can see a nuclear power plant here. This is the inside of a nuclear power plant. So in these nuclear power plants, under controlled conditions, nuclear energy is generated. So this nuclear energy generates a large amount of thermal energy that can be used to generate electricity. So you all can see different machines used here. So you saw a nuclear power plant. So you saw different machines are there. And this is also a picture of nuclear power plant. And I explained you like the nuclear reactions should be performed under controlled conditions. So when it comes to these nuclear power plants, in order to build these type of plants, the cost is very high. So our country, we don't have any nuclear power plants, but in most of the developed countries, they generate electricity using these type of nuclear energies. Right, children? We will read this. Organize a field trip to see hydropower stations, windmills, thermal power plants and hot water springs to get a better understanding about the sources of energy and their uses. So we learned about different types of energy sources. In order to get a better idea, it's really good if you can organize educational trips or educational excursions to these types of places. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, now we will start from hydropower stations. We have number of hydropower plants in Sri Lanka. What are the places, children? Hydropower plants, hydropower stations. Now you all know, some of you must have been to these type of places. Right, hydropower plants, examples. What are the examples, children? Ranvenigala, Rantambe, Lakshapana, Victoria Power Plant. Right, Ranvenigala, Victoria, Upper Kotmale. There are a number of hydropower plants in Sri Lanka. Right, windmills, we already learned that when it comes to windmills, there are different areas with the windmills. What are the areas? Basically, we have in Putkalam, Hambantota, and if you travel in Ambeville area, you will see some types of windmills are there as well. Okay? And thermal power plants in Sri Lanka, thermal power plant is located in Norochole. Okay? And hot water springs, in Madunagala we can find hot water springs. Right? Not only these types of power stations, but there are different other types of power stations as well. So when you go on educational excursions, you can get a better idea about these type of places. Okay? Right, children. Sustainable use of energy sources. This is the last topic of this lesson. Right. Now we are aware that energy is needed to do work. Energy helps us in many ways. We learn about different types of sources of energy and how we use these types of sources of energy in our day-to-day life. What are the examples? Do you remember? Shall we write down them? Okay. First, I will take sun as the main source of energy. What are the uses of the sun? Now, you all know that sun is important to maintain the temperature, right? Even to maintain the body temperature, sun is important. important to maintain temperature. To maintain the temperature. What else? And the sun gives us light. Gives light. And to dry things, to dry clothes, and grains you can use, right? And also to generate electricity, you can use solar panels to generate electricity using the solar energy. What are the other sources of energy, children? Biomass like firewood, we can use to cook food, to heat water. We will write to cook food. Okay. And biomass is used to generate, to produce biogas as well. Okay, children. So when it comes to wind is also another type of energy source. Wind is used to sail boats, to generate electricity, Okay, children. So when it comes to different energy sources, as we learned before, they help us in many ways. It's very clear. So what is the meaning of sustainable use of energy sources? So when it comes to sustainable use of energy sources, it means we have to use these energy sources, but we should not waste these type of energy sources. For example, when it comes to fossil fuels, what is the importance of fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are very important to run our vehicles because petrol and diesel are obtained by fossil fuels. These are examples for fossil fuels. Okay. So, fossil fuel is a type of limited resource. It is a non-renewable energy resource, right? So, what is the difference between renewable energy sources and non-renewable energy sources, children? Renewable energy sources means certain energy sources that we can obtain again and again, right? Like sun, wind, we can obtain these type of energy sources again and again. But what about fossil fuels? And I explained that in order to form these fossil fuels, it takes over millions of years. Okay? Therefore, fossil fuels are considered to be a non-renewable energy source. It takes a long time to generate it. Therefore, it is considered as non-renewable energy source. Non-renewable energy sources means the energy sources that do not generate again and again, right? Or it takes a long time to generate it. Understand, children? So what will happen? One day, all the fossil fuels on the earth will finish, will come to an end. Then how are we going to run our vehicles? How are we going to generate electricity using fossil fuels? That won't be possible. So that is why specifically the non-renewable energy sources we have to use without wasting. Okay, children, so that our future generations also can use those energy sources. Okay, so that is known as sustainable use of energy sources. While we are using the energy sources, we have to leave part of it for the future generations as well. Understand? Right. Look at this one. In ancient times, about 200 years ago, the major energy sources, here it's given. Now, in the past, about 200 years ago, those people, they did not have the technology, they did not have the machines, their lifestyle was very simple. Therefore, most of the time, they used the natural sources of energy in order to do their day-to-day activities. Let's see, to dry things, basically they used, what was the energy source they used? The sun. To cook meals, basically biomass. Nowadays we use electric cookers, fossil fuel like LP gas, right? So to cook meals, biomass, like firewood. For sailing boats, wind. Right. With increase in complexity in lifestyle, new energy sources were discovered. Many of them are now used to generate electricity. Can you even think of living without electricity now? So you will realize how difficult it is to live your life without electricity when there is a power cut. You can't get light, you can't make your fans work. So it's very difficult to even to spend one day alone. It's very difficult. Okay, children. So we are so used to work with these modern machines and different types of technological items. Okay. So with the increase in complexity in lifestyle, new energy sources were discovered. Many of them are now used to generate electricity. Basically, we use a lot of machines. Those machines, they need electricity to make them work. Okay, so scientists, they day by day, they find different other methods to generate electricity, new methods to generate electricity. Understand, children? Okay, we have an assignment. Make a small booklet containing images and information on different energy sources and their uses. Now, this is really easy because we have already discussed about a lot of sources of energy sources, and we explain how those type of energy sources help with our day-to-day activities. Look at this. You can find pictures like this. You can make a small booklet, right? You can find information from the internet, from the newspapers, from the books, okay? And even you can discuss with the others and get more ideas. Understand? So look, these are some ideas, that these type of pictures that you can add to your booklet. Solar panels, wind power plants. This is how you extract oil, right? And nuclear power plants, firewood as biomass, right? And this is a reservoir that is used to generate hydropower. Okay, children? So you can add pictures like this. Under each picture, you can write point-wise, you can add what are the importances of these type of energy sources. You can write under this type of picture, solar panels work with the solar energy, and you can write what are the advantages of using solar energy over other energy sources. Okay, children? So as I told you, you can find more information by reading books and magazines, by discussing with the others, and you can even find more information from the internet. Okay? Right, children. We'll go through this. The world population increases day by day. Energy requirements also increase accordingly. So in the past, people used to live a very simple life. They didn't have much technological knowledge and they didn't have any machines, right, children? So most of the time they used solar energy and wind energy and even biomass in order to do their day-to-day activities, right? The use of some energy sources are increasing at a high rate because of the increased population. For example, we have number of vehicles in our country now. So most of the time, in order to run our vehicles, we use fossil fuels like petrol and diesel. Okay, children? So, for example, fossil fuel is a non-renewable energy source. So, why do we consider these fossil fuels as non-renewable energy source, children? Do you remember? That is because it takes millions of years to generate these fossil fuels. Do you remember how fossil fuels are made? So buried plant and animal materials, they undergo changes because of temperature and pressure present in the earth. They undergo changes over millions of years and they convert into fossil fuels. So it means in order to generate fossil fuels, it takes a long period of time. Okay, children? But when we consider the consumption of these fossil fuels, that is really fast. Okay, children? What will happen when all sources of coal, petroleum gases and petroleum oil are over? It will take another millions of years, right, for them to regenerate. So then what will happen? When all the fossil fuels on the earth is finished, what will happen, children? Our next generations, they won't be able to use these fossil fuels. Okay, so they will have to switch to other methods of producing energy, right? So therefore, it is our responsibility to use these energy sources wisely without wasting. So when it comes to fossil fuels, that is a type of non-renewable energy source or limited energy source. What about water? Water is considered as a renewable energy source because we can obtain it again and again. But remember children, even though water is considered as a renewable energy source, water is still a limited energy source. Therefore, even though when we use these renewable energy sources, we have to be very careful. We have to use them wisely without wasting. Okay, children. So what are the methods we can save energy, children? We'll start from our homes. So there are so many methods that we can save energy. So for example, different electric items like electric bulbs and fans, you can turn them off when you don't use them. Okay, children, and you can close the taps. You can keep the taps closed while you are brushing your teeth or while you are applying soap. Okay, because I know some of us, we keep the tap open. We keep the tap running while we are brushing our teeth. So that is wastage of water. And we can fix the damaged pipes. Otherwise, what will happen? Water leaks through those damaged pipes and that is also wasting water. Right, children? And sometimes we can use, now during the daytime, instead of turning on the lights, we can use natural light or daylight to obtain light. Okay, what are the other methods? Sometimes there are certain electrical equipment like old TVs, old refrigerators and those old computers. They consume a large amount of electricity. Okay, energy consumption is higher. So in that case, we can switch to certain electrical instruments that consume a limited amount of electricity. Okay, children. So those are the different methods that we can save energy. Another example is other than using personal vehicles, if we can switch to use these public transport, that is also really good so that we can save fossil fuels. Understand, children? So there are different other methods as well. Okay, so we have to protect them for future generations. Only if we use these types of energy sources wisely without wasting, our future generations also will get a chance to enjoy them, benefit them. Understand, children? Okay, we have another assignment. Assume that you are born in an era where no more fossil fuels are available. List the problems that you will encounter and suggest remedies. So when it comes to fossil fuels, why do we use fossil fuels nowadays? In our country, we use fossil fuels to run vehicles. Apart from that, in developed countries, they use fossil fuels to generate electricity as well. Okay, so by burning coal, we can generate electricity. So what will happen if we born in an era where no more fossil fuels are available? Let's say that what are the difficulties that we have to face? We can't run our vehicles, right? And we can't generate electricity by burning coal. What are the other things? And you have to list the problems that you will encounter and suggest remedies. What are the remedies? What are the solutions for these problems? The only solution is we can switch to alternative energy sources. Alternative energy sources means the energy sources that we can use instead of these fossil fuels. Okay, so in that way we can switch to renewable energy sources. We can use solar energy to generate electricity. We can use the energy contained in the wind to generate electricity. Understand, children? And so instead of using fossil fuels to run our vehicles, we will have to switch to other methods. We can use solar panels and we can use special types of biofuels in order to run our vehicles. Okay, children? So even this one, you can find more information from books and other articles, from the magazines, from the internet, and you can get the others' help. You can do it as a group discussion and you can find many ideas for this assignment too. Understand, children? So we can conserve energy sources by using them carefully. Carefully means we should not waste them. Remember I told you, while brushing your teeth, while applying your soap, you should not keep the tap running. You can close the tap. Okay, children? So like that, we can use different ways to save energy without wasting. Understand? Our ancestors used them carefully and protected them for us. That is why today we can use them. Therefore, it is our responsibility to protect these sources for future generations too. We have to think about our future generations as well, not only us. Okay, children? We have to concern about taking necessary action to avoid this crisis in future. Understand, children? So if we think about the future generations and if we do not waste our energy sources, we can save them for the future generations as well. Understand? So we have to be very mindful about how to use these energy sources without wasting. I hope you understood this part clearly. Right. So here we have some extra knowledge part. We already discussed about these things. Do you remember? Biogas can be produced by using biomass. All types of waste matter gathered in urban areas and agricultural waste can be used to make biomass. Do you remember I explained you how to produce this biogas? You have to collect biomass in a sealed tank and you have to let it decay with the help of the microorganisms. Then biogas will be produced. Okay, this biogas can be used as a fuel. Ethanol is a kind of alcohol which is produced as a bioproduct in sugarcane industry. Even this one we discussed before, right? Ethanol is a type of alcohol. We can produce ethanol using sugarcane. And this ethanol is a good fuel. Understand? It can be used as a fuel to run vehicles. Some countries in the world use maize plant. Maize means corn plants to produce fuel, right? Look at this picture. An aeroplane which uses alcohol as a fuel. Okay? So in developed countries, in some countries, they already use these type of methods. So in future, when we don't have fossil fuels, we will have to use these type of alternative energy sources. Understand, children? Right. So we have completed the lesson. Do you remember what are the topics we discussed under this lesson? We will go see the summary. Okay. So under this lesson, we learn that energy is needed to do work. So in another word, we define the energy as the ability to do work, right? The ability to do work is known as energy. Understand? And the ability to do work is referred to as energy. So energy produced by energy sources. So the things that produce energy are known as energy sources. So under energy sources, we learn number of examples. Sun, wind, biomass, likewise, right? So the sun is the primary source of energy. We learn that the main type of energy contained in most of the other source of energy is the solar energy. Okay, children? Wind, biomass, fossil fuel, water, tidal waves, geothermal energy and nuclear energy are some of the examples of energy sources. And we learn what are the instances that we use these energy sources. Okay? And some of them are non-renewable. I explained you when it comes to energy sources, there are two types, renewable energy sources and non-renewable energy sources. Non-renewable energy sources means the energy sources that do not generate again and again, right? And renewable energy sources means energy sources that we can obtain again and again. And we learn the examples for renewable energy sources. Solar energy, wind energy, and water, they are coming under renewable energy sources. Even tidal wave energy and sea wave energy, all these are coming under renewable sources. Okay? And some of them are non-renewable. The best example is fossil fuels, because fossil fuel takes a long time to produce. It is considered as a non-renewable energy source. Okay? And energy sources should be conserved for future generations. the last concept we discussed about was sustainable use of energy sources. So what is the meaning of sustainable use of energy sources, children? While we are using the energy sources, we have to use it without wasting, and we have to save them for the future generations too. So I hope the lesson is very clear now. And it's a time to do our exercise. So remember, children, when we do the exercise, first of all, you all have to complete your exercise. Then when I explain the answers, you have to go through my answers and check whether your answers are correct. Okay? So let's start to do the exercise now.